Thank you, Dame Rosie, for calling me during this committee stage of this important bill. This bill is called the Northern Ireland Executive Formation Bill, yet it's been pretty thin on the ground tonight about how an executive could be reformed and formed again in Northern Ireland. In fact, we've had a debate about every other issue under the sun except what we are supposed to be debating. That's no reflection, of course, on the chair. It's because of the amendments that have been put in to try to frustrate the very important issue of how do we form an executive in Northern Ireland. People give us lip service. They tell us we want to have an executive in Northern Ireland. We want the executive brought back. And here's a bill that would let us do that, that would give impetus to those negotiators, would give a fair wind to what is going on in Belfast and in Stormont at this particular time. But instead of being an encourager, instead of being a facilitator of those talks, this House today and yesterday during this debate has actually become a frustrator to those talks. It wishes to frustrate them for the very obvious reason that it wants to debate other issues that could interfere, that could affect the very strange and the very important counterbalance that is required between the parties to encourage them to get into the talks, to encourage them to make progress, to encourage them to ensure that they are not going to be put off by what's happening outside of the Assembly. And of course I will give way.
I thank my honourable friend for giving way. It is fair to say that we've entered into the substance of some of these issues here today, and everybody is clear that the DUP and others around this House have very strong views on the substance of a number of those issues. But it's also clear that what we are asking people to do is to vote on the process, and an adequate process that is fundamental change by way of backbench amendments is not the way to do this. It doesn't facilitate scrutiny, and it will impact in terms of the talks process. We can revisit this appropriately in October if needs be.
I think the member for South Belfast makes a very appropriate point. Either we do decide to direct rule all powers to Northern Ireland and deal with the issues honestly and openly and transparently here, or else we give a fair wind to the Assembly, allow it to get up and running, and allow that Assembly to be responsible for the affairs that it is supposed to be responsible. Having this foot in both camps, saying we might legislate in these issues or we might impact on those issues, sometimes that gives advantage to one party in Northern Ireland over the other. And that's where the process today, being driven by backbenchers on some of these amendments, is totally disgraceful and is wrong. And I know, and I say it as clearly as I possibly can, I know that is not the intention of many members, that they all want to see stability back in Northern Ireland. But it is the effect of what they are doing, and it is the impact of what they are doing that is going to have that counterbalance in the situation in Northern Ireland. Now, a year or so ago, the Northern Ireland Affairs Select Committee published a report, Devolution and Democracy in Northern Ireland, dealing with the democratic deficit, and it listed 67 issues that were in deficit and required to be addressed. Not one of those issues is a subject to a backbench amendment today. Not one of them. And yet that is the list, if you like, that's the authorised version list of what needs to be put in place to address the democratic deficit. But oh no, other subject matters that parties here know are part and parcel of the debate that is ongoing in Northern Ireland and the negotiation that's ongoing in Northern Ireland, and could hold other parties to ransom if they are dealt with here in advance of the outcome of a talks process in Northern Ireland. And I think parties should waken up and recognise that position, that they should be facilitating that process, not frustrating it. Dame, I really don't have time, and my honourable friend and member knows, and she's a cousin of mine. I always want to give way, but I don't have enough time. There's other members who wish to speak. I really can't. I really can't. Dame Rosie, I always give way to you, and I really can't. Please, the issue, Dame Rosie, which I tried to address, unfortunately the member for Wolverton isn't here at the moment, but the issue of abortion that has been brought centre-piece in this debate. I think it's very, very important that we do ask members who support this to think about the framework that would be put in place or would not be in place as a result of that amendment if it is supported. There would be no framework for abortion in Northern Ireland. Now think of the consequences of that. And no matter what people's position is, I have a very clear position on abortion. Other members take a very opposite view, and they're entitled to that point of view, as I'm entitled to my point of view. But the fact and the impact of the matter would be that we would have unregulated abortions taking place in Northern Ireland. That they would be so unregulated that we would have no idea of the scope of those abortions. Would it start at 12 weeks, as is proposed in the Republic of Ireland? Would it go up to 28 weeks? Would it go to full-term abortion? There is no framework. No one here proposing this could give us an answer on that particular point, because they don't have an answer. This would just open up the door to unregulated abortion. Where would abortions take place in Northern Ireland? Again, people might say, oh, we can do it the way we do it. Well, sorry, there is no regulatory framework to allow it to happen. Who would take those abortions? Who would actually take part in them? These matters need to be properly scrutinised and properly regulated and properly legislated for, if that is the way Parliament would choose to go. And that's why there's been a convention to leave these matters to the devolved assemblies, and has been the case since 1921. This hasn't been the case just since the 1990s. This has been since 1921, because it is at the local level where these matters can be properly regulated. There would be no regulatory framework for sex selection. There would be no regulatory framework for deciding that the abortion of a living soul that would have a disability. None whatsoever. Those matters need to be properly regulated for. We've also had the point made about how it is unlawful in Northern Ireland to do certain things which are legal here. I must say, Dame Rosie, we've got to nail that. If it is a criminal offence to facilitate and to encourage an abortion illegally outside of the law in Northern Ireland, that same law applies in the rest of GB. You cannot facilitate or encourage illegal abortion anywhere in the UK, whether you're in Wolverton or whether you're in any other part of the United Kingdom, including Northern Ireland. And for it to be put about that there's different liberties in this issue, there's not. There are regulations that would apply in England, but none of them would apply in Northern Ireland under this. And that's why, even if members take a different view from me on the principal point, they should think long and hard before they actually support this, because of the impact that it would actually have. Let me read onto the record of the House, Dame Rosie, what the Supreme Court judgment in A&B versus the Secretary of State on Health actually said just in 2017. It said this: it was confirmed that there is no right to abortion in any international treaty. The conventions, and I quote, the conventions and covenant to which the UK as a party carefully stopped short of calling upon national authorities to make abortion services generally available. Some of those committees go further down the path, but as a matter of international law, the authority of their recommendation is slight. And we're being told today that no, that's not the case. That's the law. That's what the international treaties do or do not say. And for members to tell us that they're campaigning on this great rights issue, there is no right under the international treaties to terminate an unborn life. That is the fact of the matter. And we've got to make sure that that right, the right to life, is upheld. And the other members have indicated that they wish to speak for the rights of women. The biggest survey done on this matter in the last year under ComRes has indicated that 66% of women in Northern Ireland, if they want to see changes to abortion laws, they want those changes to be done exclusively in the Northern Ireland Assembly, that will take cognizance of the specific and peculiar needs that the province actually has. That is what the surveys indicate. They do not indicate that they want this House to be legislating for it day and daily, or in a hop, skip, jump and prayer manner that would lead to unregulated abortions. Madam Deputy Speaker, Dame Rosie, I think it is important that we do address one matter that was brought before the House last night, and that was that the Scottish National Party made a very principled case here to support what it has always done, their words, a principled case that they would make sure that they would stand away from interfering in a devolved matter. And it is important that we look at what was said in the record in column 75, where we do not vote on matters of devolution, and that we stick to this principle. Now, if that was a principle, Deputy Speaker, it is very disappointing that today, tactically, the Scots National Party decide to change that. They're entitled, of course, to make that change. But to try to suggest that it's all the DUP's fault, when we know that leaks that are worse than those that are coming out of Washington indicate that the splits in the ranks of this party in front of us, that they have more problems internally in this matter, and they're trying to use the cover of this. They're trying to use the cover of this matter to take away from their own splits. And of course, I'll give way finally on this point.
No, I'm grateful to my honourable friend, because I'm old enough. I've been an MP for 27 years, and I was here for all the devolution legislation that was going on. I sat on the opposition benches because I was opposed to devolution. But I lost. I lost the referendum and I lost the argument. And therefore, I cannot see how anybody who believes in devolution, therefore, just simply because they don't like the decisions that the devolved administrations are taking, could be against it.
Dame Rosie, thank you for allowing us to make those points, and I do hope that we're able to continue this debate, and we do see the formation of an executive in Northern Ireland. That's what we should really be about. And I'm happy at any point to debate any of those other 67 subjects on matters that are brought, but I fear that this chamber will echo to the one or two normal voices that come in for Northern Ireland affairs, that unfortunately today's bill has become a Trojan horse for other matters that really should not have been allowed to come onto the agenda.